Hey guys, we are pleased to say that we are associated with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation charity. And now, a message from one of our supporters.
Hi, I really appreciate the work that you've been doing for the Sophie Foundation. I do actually remember Sophie from back in the day, you know, when we were wandering around Rock World. I've never spoke to her, but I do remember her face in the club. But that place was like, it was just a little community for everyone, you know, like people that didn't feel belong anywhere, you know, like they belong anywhere else. It was really heartbreaking to hear what had happened to her. But I think the work that has been done since that event, that awful event, has been amazing to get the awareness out there, you know, and trying to make positive change. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
To learn more about this wonderful charity, head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com.
Hey Jamie, do you like being cozy?
I do.
And do you like staying cozy?
I like that even more.
Then just heading over to www.staycozyclothing.com,
where you can find hoodies, tees, sweaters, and much, much more, with a new fall line out now.
And just enter the Chronicles as one word at checkout to receive 10% off your order.
And make sure you follow them on the Instagram at Stay Cozy Clothing to keep up to date with all the new designs.
Remember, guys, that's the Chronicles as one word at checkout to receive 10% off your order.
Gentlemen.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Where is he? There he is.
Oh, yes. I love it.
Meet you guys.
Yeah, you too, fella.
And you.
Loving the jacket. Got the art. I love it. What a beautiful background. I like to be nosy and just inspect the background area.
Oh, hang on. It's a shitty day outside, so you can't see. It's just it's a god light, basically. A god outside my window.
This gives you an aura.
Exactly.
I'm just happy I now know what the P stands for in PR Brown, because it's been bothering me because I couldn't see it anywhere online.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
That's why all my emails are like, "Hi, Mr. Brown," because I can't just call him P. That's weird.
I always use it as a way to screen phone calls. Anyone that calls me PR, I know they have no effing idea who I am, so I just take a message.
I like that. That's clever.
There's like 4,000 Paul Browns in the world. There's too many of us. So yeah.
So I know that with the common name, because mine's Tom Stevens. Like, so it's just, yeah, there's like 50 million of me as well. So I know, I feel that, Paul. I'm with you. All right. Can I call you Paul, or should I call you Mr. Brown?
No, call me Paul. Absolutely.
But no, we do appreciate you doing this for us. We thank you so much. I know it's been a bit shit with trying to get times nailed down and days nailed down and all that sort of thing. So
no worries. I completely flaked on the last one. Didn't realize it was set up. So apologies.
No. That wasn't me trying to dig, being like, yeah, how come you didn't? I was just, it's just a case of, you know, it's shit happens sometimes. We all have, we all have lives and we all are busy, especially yourself, as we're about to get into. But yeah, this is going to be good fun. So we do appreciate you taking time out.
My pleasure.
So what we normally do is I just throw an intro out, and then, as my co-host likes to say, we throw a shit ton of questions your way.
Have at it. I'm ready for you.
And it's no holds, but you can say whatever you like. There's no limitations on anything, if that makes sense.
So I can cuss like a trucker and we're fine? You
can swear as much as you like.
Fantastic.
Because I know you said effing earlier. I was like, no. It's fine here. This is what we call, this is a safe space.
I've been working in corporate world for far too long, so you know that my Zoom voice, on point. I just have to make sure that I'm not swearing on every single Zoom call, because that's all I want to do to the corporate teams that I deal with on a daily basis.
I can't even begin to imagine, sir.
Yeah, from Manson to corporate life. Woo, hey.
Right, let's get this intro done. Hello, dear listeners. Today, we bring you a very special, very talented guest, a man responsible for more things than you realise. We like to celebrate the people working in the background on this show, and today's guest is a shining example. He's directed music videos for bands like Evanescence and Corey Taylor, commercials for Harley Davidson and American Idol, as well as design album art for Motley Crue, Slash, and many more. Today, we are giving you the Chronicles of PR Brown.
Hey, I feel like I should clap.
Yeah, always clap for yourself. Always.
It sounds so much better than reality, so I like it.
It's absolutely mental when you really delve into the sort of work that you do. How much you actually do is insane.
Thank you.
It's crazy, but it's wonderful, and I'm excited to delve deeper. But Paul, let's start with the really hard hitting stuff, shall we? How was your pandemic season?
Pandemic season, honestly, was kind of a godsend to me because I'm a complete introvert. So it was like a little bit of heaven. It was like I didn't have to see people, didn't have to like fake my way through conversations. It was fantastic. Like I live up in the middle of nowhere, up in the Berkshires in Massachusetts, on top of a mountain, and I didn't have to go anywhere. I could work on a computer. I could get all my work done. I could hang out here, spend time with my daughter and my wife. Other than the world completely losing its fucking mind and falling apart, I was okay. I mean, it sucked, obviously, for all the reasons that the world is completely falling apart. But beyond that, I came through, luckily, unscathed. So I'm grateful for that.
Excellent. So I'm pleased that obviously everyone was okay and stuff. And obviously you got to live the dream by not having to actually go anywhere. So that's wonderful. And
I had to learn how to direct via Zoom. So that was a thing. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's funny because no one even knew what this was until the pandemic started. So it's like, oh, well, use Zoom. What's that? It's something that you go quickly on, is it? Or no, it's a computer software where you can talk to people. Don't people use Skype? No, this is better.
Something you go quickly on.
Although I have to say now that I know that I can just direct sitting in my office in my house, I feel the need to not go anywhere ever again in my lifetime. It's great. So, I did a music video from right here. It was great. It's like, why can't all of them be that way? It's fantastic.
I take so as the world so your job role then has that completely changed now? Are you literally doing them from home rather than going out?
No, ironically, I'm actually leaving in a couple of days to go to Zurich to shoot 4 videos for a band there. So,
wow.
I say all that, but I'm on my way. I'm on my way finally back to Europe after 2 years of not being able to go shoot out there. So that'll be fun.
Amazing.
So I would always prefer to be on set. I can lie to myself and say that drinking my coffee and looking on a computer at some really shitty images worked, but it doesn't.
So, for a man who spins so many plates, I've got to ask, take us back to for little Mr. Brown, what was the original plan for you career-wise? What did you want to do?
Oh, my God. Have you guys ever heard of a show called Family Ties?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Awful 80s sitcom here in the States. And it had this character, Alex P. Keaton, in it. And for some strange reason, the 70s version of me decided that I wanted to be him. So I started very young. I actually started my first company when I was about 12, called Be Creative Design. This is what a 12-year-old does. And then by 14 was designing kids' meals for Dairy Queen, which is like a fast food restaurant here.
Yeah.
And then went to college when I was 16 and was going to graduate when I was 18 and freaked out and moved over to your world and went to Brighton University down there for a couple of years and then worked at Pentagram in London. And then from there, came back, finished my degree, went to LA, doing movie posters for like Mrs. Doubtfire and Wolf and bizarre shit back in the day. And then took on an art director role or a designer role at Capitol Records back in the day. And I was, the funny part about it is I was 20 when I was an art director at Capitol, and I couldn't get in to see the bands that were playing because I wasn't legal drinking age. And so I used my Capitol ID to actually go in and see the bands that I was working on the albums for. That's how I got into bars, to go see the bands that I was working on.
That's nuts. We want you to work on this band. Can I go see them live? Get a feel from them? No.
Exactly.
But obviously, all the things you just said, the underlying thing is it's visual arts. Where did that passion come from?
So I came from a family, my father was in marketing always, and was always working on various creative pursuits. Kind of drove him mad. And my mom was a fine art painter, so I was kind of somewhere in the middle. So I loved drawing when I was a kid, loved everything visual. Went into design early on. I got super bored after I did about 500 album covers, and went into photography, and then had a band ask me to direct a video, and I was like, you guys know I've never directed anything in my life. And they're like, yeah, it's fine, you'll be totally cool. And so I showed up onto a set with I don't know, 75 extras and a crew of 100 to do my first music video, and got addicted from that point forward. So ever since then, it's been design, photography, and directing.
Unbelievable.
That's
so
amazing.
When you first started your company when you were 12 years old, what exactly did you do? Right.
Oh God, terrible designs for locals that, like everything from someone that was lawn mowing to an auto body shop to logos for them that, looking back now, I would smack a 12-year-old if they told me that was legitimate.
But it obviously got you somewhere, because if you're doing stuff for Dairy Queen by the time you were 14, that's just insane. So how did you pitch it to them then? Did they just see what you were doing? They're like, we like this. Can we, you come work for us?
Oh no, that was 100% nepotism. 100%, because my dad was doing marketing for Dairy Queen at the time, and it's like, who better to do a kid's meal than a kid? I was like, cool, let's do it. So that was how I got that. So I take zero credit for that. That was just literally being born to the right man.
Not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Yeah, it'll get you places, like doing kids meals for Dairy Queen. It's whatever kid's dream is.
So you're mostly known for your work in the world of rock and metal, but is it right you got started working with jazz musicians?
So yeah, funny thing, when I was a art director at Capitol, I was doing a bunch of different kinds of bands there, and then left there to go become the creative director at October Films in New York, doing film posters for like Lost Highway and that kind of world back in the day. Kind of hated those guys a lot, and I literally worked there for about a year, and then the second year, that's not true, I didn't hate them all. I'll take that back. Some of them were very nice. That's what I'm saying. No, they were really cool. It wasn't the right fit for me. So the second year of my contract, I actually started Out of Design, my own company, and worked out of my own space and still did the creative director role for October Films. But while I was doing that, I linked up with Blue Note and started doing a ton of jazz albums. Probably did, 150 jazz albums in a span of 2 or 3 years for them. Wow. Everything from like series work to like individuals to that kind of thing. So I had done many jazz albums back in the day. And things changed once I met Manson. Like that was the shift. Like that was, and that was a bizarre reason that all came about. I had a friend incredibly talented photographer named Jana Leon, who was up for the project for Antichrist Superstar. And while she was talking to Manson, he said, do you know any designers? She knew me, recommended me. I looked at my work and was like, yeah, this is not going to fly. I can't send any of this to this guy. Because I looked at him and he was a freak of nature. Like I'd never seen anything kind of like him at the point. So over a weekend, I created, 5 or 6 fictitious albums. I just made up band names like Circumscribed and designed album packages for him. And sent him those as my whole portfolio. I was like, these 5 albums, this is all I do. Like, here you go. And ironically, one of the designs ended up becoming the cover, like the whole design architecture for Antichrist that I did during that weekend. So the mind, heart, malice, complacent, like all of that kind of structuring came about from one of those bullshit albums I created over the weekend.
It's a really art-heavy album, like the book.
Yeah.
And it's so wow. The fact you managed to bullshit your way into getting to do that, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, although I will say Dean Carr did the photography on that, and it was mind blowing. I mean, Dean's kind of a god, so it all the success that people always talk about, that being kind of an iconic album, rests solely on Dean, in my opinion, because that was just unbelievable photography on his part.
Whose idea was it all then? Was it Manson's idea? All the stuff behind it?
My first meeting with Manson, you guys will get a kick out of this, see if I can remember this correctly. He flew me down to New Orleans to Hot Snakes, I think that's what it was called, Reznor's recording studio, while they were recording the album. I met him. He full contact in the whole bit right when I met him, and I just kind of stared at him for a minute and didn't know what to do with it. And he said, "I want you to watch this movie." And I was like, "Okay, I just flew down here, but cool, I'll watch a movie." And he sat me down and had me watch a movie called Begotten, which, if you've never seen it, mentally prepare yourself for some therapy afterwards if you're gonna watch it. So it was basically this black and white film, all set to drone music, that a director filmed and buried the footage for like, I don't know, it was like 6 weeks or 6 months in the ground, and then developed it after it. So it's this fucked up, raw, crazy looking footage. And the story is this: it is basically Mary jacks off God. Well, Mary kills God, jacks him off, takes his seed, impregnates herself, has a child that then gets stoned to death by all the locals.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
At least that was my gist of it. That was my interpretation of it. And he's like, "See that? That's what I want the album to be." I was like, right, okay.
Now I'm even more confused.
So that's what it was. So it was basically, all of the tropes of him being kind of the messiah that he wanted to be for the world. So it was a trippy experience, to say the least. And then I stuck with him for like a decade.
I was going to say, and you worked with him for years after that as well. It's even funnier.
Yeah. Yep. I had quit smoking and then started smoking again after I was working with him. It was a whole it was a long 10 years.
When you were growing up and stuff, then rock and metal wasn't really your influence, was it? What were you listening to when you were growing up?
Classical. I grew up hardcore classical. So
wow.
The heavier the classical, the better. Get me into Wagner world, and I was very happy growing up. So I was about as dorky as they come. Knew nothing about music, only knew classical. Hated 80s pop music because I grew up in that time. I was like, nah, it's not for me. Yeah. And I still, it's my go-to is classical. When I'm working, I listen to classical music.
Manson must have been a shock to the system then.
I think he never knew what to make of me. He just cracked up. Because I didn't fit the mold of, everyone else surrounding him. So I was just this dorky kid from Blaine, Minnesota that was doing really dark, creepy shit.
Wow. That is nuts. But working with as many artists as you have for album art, how do you approach each design? Do you take like ideas to them, or do they tell you what they want, or is it like a collaboration?
It's entirely different per artist, honestly. I've had it go every single way you can imagine. Sometimes they have a very solid idea and they know exactly what they want to do. Sometimes it's a brand new band and they are scared shitless and they look like deer in headlights, and you have to kind of walk them through it because they've never done the process and they know nothing about it. So you have to be kind of more engaging and kind of come up with the thoughts for them. But the bigger the artist, the more they tend to have a pretty solid idea of what they're looking for. And then it's collaborating with them to figure it out. So different for each project.
How long will that, roughly, obviously, because it might be different, roughly how long is that process though, from getting an email to be hired to then, here you go, here's your artwork?
Well, see, this is where I'll date myself because this was pre-email. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So I would get a call.
I'll get a telegram.
Honestly, it's different for each project. I used to knock out albums in a week, and there are projects that took a year. Hollywood, I literally shot in a studio for 6 months straight. when I did that for Manson. So I moved my studio into the Houdini Mansion in Hollywood while he was recording the album, and shot all of that while they were recording. So it's you've got a big gauge there of everything from a week turnaround to a year to try and get it done.
Wow, it's nuts.
That's unreal.
Do you prefer it when you're left to your own devices, or do you prefer to have that influence on the artist?
Oh God, no! I'd rather be by myself. Like I'll play nice, and I'm happy to work with anybody. Like I love collaborating, but given the choice, I'd put me in a dark dungeon and let me kind of blast music and go create, and I'm much happier.
Have you ever got to a point with some of with projects or whatever where it's all getting put together, it's all about to be certain, and then someone goes, actually, no, I don't want that anymore. Change that, change this. Has that ever happened?
Oh, hundreds of times. Absolutely.
And you just want to punch them in the face.
Yeah. Or their girlfriend didn't like it. Or take your pick. Yeah. I mean, I've had videos completely fully edited, done with post effects, and a girlfriend chimed in and said, I don't really like that. And so we completely redid the video from that point forward.
No.
I will not tell you what artist that is, because you would know instantly, and I will not tell you. So
that's fine.
Yes, I have had that happen.
That would drive me insane.
Yeah.
I was like, it's fine. It's going to cost you this much. And they're like, cool. And I'm like, okay.
Do you feel like different pressures and responsibilities depend on the artist? For example, like Saints of Los Angeles that you did with Motley Crue, their first album in however many years, and say like a band's debut album, is there like a different pressure responsibility, or is it like another album, another day?
Yeah, I don't buy into celebrity. So celebrity has never done anything for me, with the exception that if I ever meet Tom Waits, I'd probably scream like a schoolgirl, because that's literally the only celebrity I want to meet. Beyond that, the celebrity, like your level of who you are in the world doesn't factor in for me. It's what are you trying to say? Are you an artist? Are you trying to project some art of some kind? And can I help you kind of achieve that? So, with Motley, I mean, I ended up being really, Nicky is one of my dearest friends. Like I still love the guy. I talk to him frequently. So it was a different vibe. So I'd say they were more like family to me when we did Saints, because I was doing some work for them before the album. And so I was there when they brought the band back together and did all of that. So I was part of that process. So that one definitely takes some more weight than other projects, because I was personally involved with them. They were family at that point. So.
That's amazing. I mean, I suppose in your line of work, it's good to stay professional rather than be like, oh my God, like, oh yes, whatever you want, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I don't. And I think that's why, honestly, Manson and I worked together so long, is because I just was not that guy. I'm not the guy that's going to say yes or bow down. And he wants that kind of control. Clearly, with everything going on in his life, he is all about control. So that was a big thing for him. I just didn't give it to him. I just didn't give him that control. So
that's good.
Are there any artists that you just like love to work with? You get that telegram, call, email, whatever, you're like, yes, it's going to be a good time.
Amy from Evanescence, she's no brainer. I mean, she's awesome. Like, she's just an incredible human being. Like, she sees art on a different level. Clown from Slipknot, I absolutely love the guy. He is maybe the craziest motherfucker I've ever met in my life, but like, I love his crazy, and we kind of get in sync. There's a madness to him, but there's a genius behind that madness. So he and I have always worked really well together on all the Slipknot stuff. Those guys, Amy and Clown, are definitely very high up there for me, of probably my two favorites. But I've had so many that I've loved kind of working with over the years, that given a chance would jump at again. There are several that I would never work with again, but many that I would.
So do people approach you then for like music videos and stuff like that? Or when you started out, how would you actually get into the process of being like, I could do that for you, I could do that for you?
Well, when I started, it's as I mentioned, I kind of got roped into doing my first video, having never thought about doing one. But then once I got the itch for it, then I was actively trying to pursue directing, and found a rep, and then the rep would have me write on on videos. And I don't know how much you guys know the process, at least back then, of what videos were, but they could have anywhere from 10 to 20 directors write on a treatment, and you don't get paid for that. So you're writing treatment after treatment, and then artist is like, oh, that's the idea, let's go with that one. So I have a book full of probably a couple thousand treatments.
No way.
Oh yeah. That when I'm really stumped on a band, I'll start flipping through and be like, oh, that was a really good idea, let's go with that one.
So this band didn't want it, but these are gonna fucking love it.
Exactly. Yeah, so it was kind of a brutal game of writing nonstop, pitching against other directors for it. And it's similar now, but the budgets are so crappy for music videos that level of competitive spirit isn't quite the same.
Is it because there's not demand much for them anymore? I mean,
I think so. It's just the whole music world fell apart. So I mean, when all of that collapsed, when everything went digital, everything changed. So they what once was a $300,000 budget for a music video is now a $30,000 budget for a music video. It's 10%. It's 10% of what it was.
Yeah.
So, and it's also a bit more indicative of the generation. And is it good enough? And is it good enough for YouTube? Yeah, it's good enough. Good enough for YouTube. All right, cool. So your mindset changes in how they approach making music videos now, to where it's trying to get those bites online versus trying to make a statement that they once did way back when.
Yeah, because I used to literally live in my bedroom day after day, Kerrang or Scuzz on all day. Like I'd go home from school straight on, and I just I do that all day, every day. I loved it. That's all I did in my life. It was just music video. And then I used to love Mondays, because in Britain on Mondays at 7:30 a.m. all the new stuff came out. So you got all the brand new ones. I was like, oh my God, there's a new Linkin Park song. Oh my God, new Papa. Those were the days, Paul, I tell you.
They were great. I remember that 14-year window when MTV actually played music videos.
Yeah, music television. Yeah.
14 years. That's the extent of how long they played music videos. I think I'm pretty sure that's. Yeah.
But saying that with the modern music, one thing I've noticed, it's bands that with people that are like our age that enjoyed the music videos. They're like, oh, I'm in a band now, I'm gonna make a music video. But then like the older established bands now, it's like, just stick out a lyric video. Who gives a shit anymore? No one watches them.
True. It's very true.
It's mad the amount of times you see lyric videos coming out nowadays.
I know, and there's so many of them. To be honest, the artists that don't get drawn into the ego and don't feel the need to have to perform in their videos tend to make the better videos, to me. The ones that are willing to let a narrative play out and actually do something and say something, it's cool if they're part of that narrative. But I mean, to see a band playing live, you can only shoot them so many different ways creatively and make it an interesting music video. It's cooler to go see them in person. So to me, you want a music video to inspire someone to go see a band live. That's the whole point. If you're showing them all that live in there, it's like setting them up for failure, because when they go and see them live, they'll be like, well, that's kind of shitty in comparison to what that video was.
So you mentioned like someone convinced you to do a music video for them when you first got into it. Who was it? Did you have to pitch for that, or was there like, no, we want you to do it?
For it all, and it was awesome. It was Dez from Cold Chamber.
Amazing.
So Fiend is the first video I ever did. So it was literally on the Universal backlot. It was crazy, a ton of extras, and it was madness. So
that's amazing.
That is incredible. I mean, I swear, Paul, right? That Killswitch Engage video from My Last Serenade, I think, made me sick. I'm surprised they weren't sick with that the spinning. That was so cool. How did that? How did that even happen? What even is it? What are they stood in?
So do you remember? Can't even remember what the name of those things are. But the old school, what are those things called? This is where my brain is now getting old. But you would basically look through a rotating kind of disc, and there's a cut in the middle, and you could see the animation moving as it's going around. Completely lost on what the name of that is.
I know,
but that was the whole concept for that video, was let's recreate that. And so I built it in my studio. But the crazy part about that particular video was that happened. I was shooting 2 videos back to back in my studio, like literally 2 days, like back to back. And the first video, which I don't even remember what band it was for, I built this entire set made out of 2,000 rolls of gauze, which was really cool. But turns out gauze is not flame resistant at all. So a light blew and caught the gauze on fire, and it all went up in complete inferno within like 30 seconds. And burned out my entire studio.
No.
It's literally everybody rushing outside. I've got fire trucks there. I'm dragging my computer out in my hands through smoke, like to try and get it outside. And somehow, some way, we managed to clean it all up and build the set for Kill Switch Engage and shoot them the next day.
That's what the fuck?
No. Yeah, it was crazy. And the weirdest part about that is that James Gandolfini was filming something outside of my office. And I just remember standing next to him, and he'd be like, and he was talking to me, he's like, it's a real shame if anything would happen to kind of anything you got in there. And it was the most surreal experience of my life. Fucking James Gandolfini standing at my studio, I'm watching it on fire, going, this isn't real life. This is bizarre. Like, I don't know what's going on right.
It's like, this is not the situation I want to meet you in, James Gandolfini.
Well, the best part is, so I met him. I did a shoot. I was shooting some kind of documentary footage of him years later, and brought up that story to him. And he started cracking up, and he's like, I remember that. He's like, I totally thought that place was just going to completely burn down.
Fucking
That's amazing. So with music videos, is the approach the same as it is for album art? So it's like you speak to the artists, they tell you what they want, or you give them an idea?
Yeah, it ranges. You know, it's a complete range. So sometimes they have a very clear idea. More so in music videos, they tend not to have the idea. So they're looking for directors to kind of help them visualize their music. They might have a tone or a sentiment that they're trying to get across, but they just don't know how to visualize it. So they'll try and tap into directors that can help them kind of sculpt what that is. And they'll be fully involved in that process, but they're looking for someone to kind of generate, what do you see when you hear this music? And I think that's what I've always loved about music videos, is that.
Is there like a traditional camera angle or like design thing that you could people go, that's a PR Brown video right there? That's definitely a PR Brown video.
You know, people have asked me that, and it's probably the detriment to my career that isn't the case. Because, you know, I'm one of those people. I'm just a visual guy, and I like whatever the visual challenge is, I will take it on. So there are weeks that I was literally working on Hanson and Manson in the same week. You know, it's like, I can't make those two fuckers look the same. Like, it's not going to work. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, you've got 3 squeaky clean boys that are super nice, and you've got Satan, and you're like, what are you going to do? Make them look the same? So, you know, each one was its own visual challenge. And I kind of loved the challenge of that. So I guess, you know, people can say that they recognize my work, but for the life of me, I can't. Like, I look at it, and they're so different on each one, depending on what was needed, that I can't see the thread, other than I know it came from my brain, but that's it. So.
I just need a Hanson Manson mashup now.
It's a collaboration I didn't know I needed.
Probably be the autobiography someday, is just from Hanson to Manson. Or it'll just be PR Brown from Hanson to Manson.
What a great title. That's amazing.
So good. I just got the vision of like, bop.
Oh my God, have you ever seen the mashups of Slipknot? Like, when they do the pop versions of Slipknot, it's fantastic.
No, where can I find that?
I don't know, they did one for Psychosocial, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I've seen it, it's brilliant.
Oh, I've got to track that down. Did not know they existed.
So whenever we interview musicians, Tom always asks them their feelings on music videos. And some love them and some absolutely hate doing their music videos. What experience have you had with artists? Do they seem to despise it, or do they have a good time?
The majority thoroughly enjoy it because it's a rush. I mean, that is kind of it's the extension of the stage for them. You know, they are performers. They like to perform, so they're usually drawn to wanting to make music videos. Unless you're talking to some seasoned vets and they're like, it's a pain in the ass. It's literally what you were saying before. It's the reason why there's so many lyric videos now, because you've got seasoned artists that are like, hey, this is nonsense. Why are we doing this? So, you know, it varies, but I would say the majority are very into making their videos and actually put a lot of effort and energy and, you know, to try and get a message across what they're trying to do. Sound wise, they want to get across visually and attract people from that. But it's advertising at the end of the day. I mean, it's literally
exactly.
It's a 3-minute ad.
Yeah. What's the longest video you've ever had to do where you've been like, oh my days, guys, can we just get this done?
Oh, that would be Billy Corrigan. We did an 18-minute video.
What?
Yeah, it was a bunch of songs mashed together. And that was crazy because we filmed, it was all green screen. And when I got the project, I knew that it was all going to be built in a crazy visual world. But the irony is I had never opened up After Effects in my life until we finished shooting and I had all the footage. And I had about 3 weeks to create an 18-minute music video using After Effects, having never opened it in my life. It was a interesting 3 weeks after that.
Christ.
So we did it.
The one thing I've always wondered when it comes to music videos is how many times do you reckon you hear the same song over and over again?
Oh my God, because I also edit and do post, it's mind-numbing. I mean, my wife has literally freaked out and banned me from playing. Like she's like, you've got to use headphones. She's like, I'm gonna lose my mind if I hear that song one more time. It's not even hearing a full song. It's like hearing 10 seconds and then reversing and then hearing 10 seconds and reversing and hearing 10 seconds. So yeah, when I finish a music video, I don't need to hear the song for a while. I'm good.
No wonder you listen to classical music, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because is it playing all the time on set as well?
What's up?
Is it playing all the time on set as well as you're filming it?
Oh yeah, over and over again.
Oh,
every time they have to sync up to it, unless you're doing narrative, and then, you know, obviously you're not doing it for narrative, unless you have to get the actors into kind of the vibe of what it's about. But we usually pick other music to kind of get people into the vibe. Yeah, just depends on what mood you want to get. So you find the right music for that mood.
You've done some incredible music videos. Like when I was doing my research for this, I found that you did Murder Dolls Dead in Hollywood, who one of my favorite bands of all time. Stuff with Slipknot, even done stuff with Miley Cyrus and Snoop. Are there any that like stand out to you for whatever reason? Whether you just finished it and you're like, damn, that's good work, Paul. I'm good, or it's just the process was really good fun. Or
Snuff was amazing. Like I loved that whole project just because it was so different for the band. And Clown and I got to work together on that one. That one definitely has a soft spot. Sing for My Chem was a hell of a lot of fun. You know, anytime a band comes to you and says, we want to make a Star Wars movie, we're like, cool, let's go do it. That was awesome. That was a great experience. Miley and Snoop, funny you brought them up, is one of the most bizarre experiences I've ever had on set. Mainly because both of them were super awesome. Like completely not what I thought what either were going to be. You have preconceptions of what an artist is going to be like before you meet him. And I remember showing up to set and it reeking of weed, like crazy. Like I've never smelled that much weed in my entire life. And I was like, oh, Snoop's here. And they're like, no, he hasn't shown up yet. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then out walks Miley. And she's like, hi, nice to meet you. And I'm like, oh, right.
That's why you two are working together. And
I have to say, she was maybe one of the coolest artists I've ever worked with. She was awesome. Like totally genuine, down to earth, very cool to the entire crew. No ego, no nonsense. She was awesome. And Snoop was great too. They were a lot of fun.
Beautiful.
That's the thing with Miley. For all the bad press she gets for things, I've never heard a bad thing said about her as a person. She seems like a really nice person.
Yeah, talented, gets it. Like she's great.
So,
good genes in that family.
You have a website, and I hope
Crappy one, yeah.
You are
a crappy one, yes.
I wouldn't say crappy.
But I have to. That every about 5 years, my wife is like, "Have you updated your site?" And I'm like, "Shit, no."
And I've got 5 years worth of shit to put on there. God damn it, this could be a year.
Yeah,
called Bowda. Do apologize for the pronunciation.
No, all good. My back when I was in England, when I was in Brighton, someone tried to get me to describe what my work was like, and I said, I don't know, it's somewhere between Bauhaus and Dada. Like I love the structure of Bauhaus and I love the chaos of Dada. I'm kind of somewhere right in the middle, and so that's where Bowda came from. So it's half bow, half Dada. So structured chaos.
That needs to be the tagline. Bowda. Half bow, half Dada.
Exactly.
But yeah, when I was looking through it, and obviously done quite a lot of adverts of some massive ass companies. Pepsi, I think, was one. I saw Kevin Hart on there.
Yeah.
Like unbelievable. So, did your work with music videos help you to get to work on adverts, or were you doing both of them side by side?
No, absolutely. I think when the music industry started falling apart, I needed to find a way to pay a mortgage, and advertising seemed like a logical solution.
Oh yeah.
I actually really enjoyed. The irony to all of this is that I'm currently a creative for Pepsi, like their internal
really
advertising. So I do that as well as still directing, designing, producing, do all of that at the same time. So I do a ton for Mountain Dew, Pepsi, like all of the Pepsi drinks. I do a ton of work for. You don't see it on the site because I rarely ever post it, but that's how my days are kept busy for the most part.
Damn. Do you have any time to live, eat, breathe at all?
I do, but I'm a workaholic, so I love creating. My downtime, I go out and shoot. Like I go out and shoot photography because that keeps me sane.
Which I noticed on your Instagram.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely stunning, some of them photos. I saw a painting of waterfalls. Oh my ass, unbelievable. I'm not, it's like art's never really grabbed me, but when I saw it, I was just there looking at it for ages going. I even turned to my other half and was like, let me see this. Look at that. That's incredible. Like just stunning.
My 20-year goal when I'm ancient senior citizen at this point will be doing fine art photography for the rest of my life. When I no longer have to get on a Zoom call and I can just go be. That will be the long-term goal. I probably won't make anything off of it and will, die completely broke, but I'll be very happy.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. As long as you're happy, mate, that's all that matters.
Yeah. I figure as long as my daughter gets through high school and into college, then I'm good. Then I can just go make fine art and sell them to my friends.
Stunning.
With your commercial work, is it like a similar process to music videos, or is it a complete other end of the spectrum sort of work?
In some ways similar, in many ways very, very different. There's a lot more money involved in commercials, and with that comes a lot more people, and there are a lot more levels of people that are involved in making those decisions. So from a creative standpoint, you want commercials to be as creative as they can possibly be, but at the end of the day, you're looking at a committee of 20 to 30 people that are making decisions on it that are way above your pay grade. So you're trying to do the best you can and get the creative out there, but dealing with the pressures of all sides getting their 2 cents in. So it's a trickier process for sure.
I can imagine it being like very different, but yeah, because like you say, you've got like a room full of the marketing department who know exactly what they want, and they're just like, go make that, Paul.
Yeah,
go do it.
Well, the best is when you're almost 50 and you've been doing this for 30 plus years and you have a 22-year-old telling you the way it should be. So you kind of have to wrap your head around that a little bit and be like, okay, cool.
You don't have to call him sir, do you?
No.
Thank God.
Do that. But I do have to have some of them explain to me why TikTok exists and does it really have to? Like,
Yeah, tell me about it. Why is this a thing, please? Why have you just taken Vine away and made it longer?
Exactly. No, but it's good. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I love doing commercials. I actually love working with the people I work with. And I make fun of the younger generation, but honestly, they bring in fresh ideas that this old brain can't think of. So I'm all for it. As long as they're cool about it, I'm cool about it. If they try and take some kind of aggressive pit bull stance, then I have issue with it. But if they want to just work and create, I'm totally down. So it doesn't really faze me.
It's incredible. You're a wonderful human. You're very humble. This is
Very, yeah. I was looking through some of the commercials you worked on, and there's one that stood out to me particularly. What was it like shooting Lionel Richie sitting on a bed?
Kind of awesome, actually.
I was going to say, that's going to be a top 10 life experience right there.
Just to say that I shot Lionel Richie on a bed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that great of a commercial, but it was a hell of a lot of fun to do. It was for his sheets for JCPenney's. Like, it was, but no, he was an amazing human being. Again, one of those people that you just don't know what you're going to get until you're on set with. And he was just totally humble, sweet, great to everybody. And honestly, it was just a thrill to kind of hang with him for a day. And the fact we got a commercial out of it, I was like, great.
I was just watching, I was thinking, what must that day have been like where you get that call going, we want you to go film a sheet commercial with Lionel Richie today? It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Phenomenal.
It's amazing. So just quickly wanted to touch back on the music video side of it. You were nominated for a Grammy, is that right?
That's right. Yeah, for Jack White and Alicia Keys for a Bond theme that they did.
So that must have been surreal and working on a Bond theme alone.
It was very bizarre and surreal that it was the two of them, because it was a really cool combination to see those two come together to create something. Again, two really, really cool human beings that are completely from different worlds that just melded creatively and did something pretty amazing. It was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed doing that. Got to go hang out in France for a couple of weeks while they did the post. I actually didn't do the post on that, but I oversaw it over there. So I have no complaints about that video at all. It was a lot of fun to do.
I bet you've been able to travel the world in music videos, though. Like, I bet you've seen some amazing places.
I have definitely traveled a lot. Yeah, I love to travel. The craziest one was a band from Brazil that basically stalked me for a year.
What?
Yeah, just because they wanted me to do a video for them. And, you know, they had no budget, whatever. And I was like, fine, I'll come down. You can, I desperately want to see Brazil, but we got to go shoot it out in the Amazon. And they're like, cool. I was like, all right, then I'm coming.
What?
We went and I did this video and they ended up being truly astounding human beings and loved every minute of it. It's a band called Madam Satan. I don't think they're a band anymore.
Great name.
But went down and did a couple of videos for them over a couple of days up in the edge of the Amazon. It was awesome.
Oh, damn, that must have been stunning just for the surroundings.
It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Is there anywhere that you really want to go you haven't been yet?
Couple of bucket list items. Iceland for sure. I keep trying to write treatments for Iceland, but nobody's bit. That one's high up there. I've done a fair amount of Asia. I've done almost all of Europe. Done a good chunk of South America. Africa, I would love to get to. I have yet to be. That's one of the last remaining continents I have left. Need to get there at some point.
Need to conquer.
Yeah, exactly. Been to Australia, but not New Zealand. Would love to get to New Zealand. Would love to go shoot there. That would be a lot of fun.
I only ever laid over in Iceland. I was only there for a couple of hours.
I'm going in the next year. I decided that that's my present to myself when I turn 50. I'm going to Iceland.
Yes, amazing. Absolutely incredible. It looks stunning.
It looks incredible. Yeah.
But amazing. When we talked about the Jack White, so because I've got an IMDb credit for you here for Quantum of Solace. Was that the Jack White and Alicia Keys thing? Was this something completely separate?
No, that was it. That was what it was for.
Oh, was that what it was for? Okay,
Yep.
it just said crew files. It's like, what's crew files mean?
No, it was the theme for Quantum of Solace. It was for that film. So,
as we were saying about that being nominated for a Grammy, does that mean you actually got to go to the award ceremony? You actually got to go to the Grammys?
I actually went with I went with my dad. It was awesome. My dad passed away a few years after it, and so it was a great experience. Like, he and I got to kind of go hang out and be a part of it. And they give you, when you get nominated for a Grammy, they give you these medallions. This kind of very heavy medallion as being a nominee, and didn't care about that. Like, I didn't care about the awards. Didn't care. It was fun to go just for the experience. Knew there was a shot in hell that it was going to win. I think Weezer won it, I'm pretty sure, that year. So I had zero pressure. Like, it was awesome. I just got to go be a participant to kind of hang out.
So cool.
And at the end of it, this medallion that they gave me, I gave to my father-in-law, and they keep it as like a shrine in their house. And I'm like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about it until I go visit him. I'm like, oh, there it is.
There's that time I got nominated for a Grammy. That little old thing.
I don't know. Awards don't mean anything to me. I know they mean a lot to a lot of people. Like, I like creating. So I as long as I can create, I'm happy. If it makes and inspires people, cool. I don't, the awards and accolades for it don't do much for me.
So with such a huge catalogue of work and all the people you've worked with, artists, companies, is there anyone that you still really want to work with?
Tom Waits. Dude,
I should have known that, really, shouldn't I?
30 minutes ago. There's something about the guy oozes creativity like I've never seen any human ooze in my entire life. It's so fucking bizarre that I want to kind of sit with him for a day and pick his brain and see where he wants to go. Whether you like his music or not, the guy is just incredibly creative. And so for me, I think that's more the allure there is that kind of liquid creativity that he has that I would love to tap into. So that to me would be kind of the moment. I will say there was a moment, the first concert I ever saw in my life, and this is really going to seriously date me, was Purple Rain. That was the first show I had ever seen in my entire life.
Wow.
The first concert I ever went to. And getting to work with him kind of a couple of years right before he died was a big moment. And so that was maybe one of the only times that I had that kind of flutter of, holy shit, I'm near kind of this god of a human. And he squashed that quickly when I said, hey, my first concert I ever went to was Purple Rain. And he went, cool. And then I snapped out of it and all was good. And we went and created some cool videos. So
what did you do with Prince? I didn't spot that.
I did 2 videos for him. I did one with Q-Tip, Chocolate Box, and he did a cover of Crimson and Clover. So we shot both of those. So 2 videos for him. That was great. It's the only time I've ever seen an entire crew stop what they were doing and watch. I've never, ever seen that. We'll probably never see that again. The second he walked on and started performing, it was dead silent. Everybody was glued to a monitor watching him because it was just kind of that moment of awe kind of for everybody. It was cool.
That is phenomenal. Because obviously you've done some Static X videos as well. And obviously then Wayne Static sadly passed away as well.
Yep.
But great band. And obviously they've reformed the new singer and stuff. But you have worked with some unbelievable people. Is there any mental, other than obviously the fact that your studio was burnt down, any other mental crazy stories you've got from time working on music videos?
From music videos?
Or just in general, Paul?
Well, yeah. So early in my career, the craziest moment I ever had that will definitely be in the autobiography someday was with Dave Mustaine.
Okay.
At Capitol. I had just started working at Capitol, and Hugh Son did the artwork for Euthanasia. And so this is back Euthanasia for that. And there were a ton of changes that had to be done on the album. credits and, just minimal kind of just design changes that needed to be done. And so they stuck me in my office with Dave. It was just the two of us. He came into my office, was in a shitty mood because he was convinced that the label hated him and was trying to destroy his career. He was paranoid that the label was out to get him. And he literally took out a tape recorder, slammed it down on my desk and pushed record and said, "I'm recording all this, so when you fuck up, I know who to blame." And I was like, "Nice to meet you. My name's Paul."
Oh my God.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So that was like, oh, so this is the music industry. Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, needless to say, I don't think he was very happy with Capitol at the time.
I think that might
and I think I got the brunt of that. I'm sure he's a decent guy, but that was my experience and it was hilarious. So
Wow.
I did changes with him over my back, verbally saying, and I would have to say, yes, I made the change so-and-so on page 9. And I would have to say it verbally. So it was on the audio tape for him to kind of record all of it.
That's nuts.
It was crazy.
What did he think your position in the company was in order to be able to fuck his band over?
I have no idea. No clue. But it was sheer comedy.
That is bonkers. With your career, are you much of a sentimental person in the case, like, do you keep like things from any sets or whatnot, like memories?
I'm not a thing person. People have asked me that before, and I'm not. I've never been a thing person. It's always about going to create the next thing that I can find, and not looking back on. It's funny. I've done one other podcast in my life. Someone interviewed me for a podcast, and there was one point that he was talking about an album that I worked on that I literally had no memory of doing, like zero. And so as he's talking to me, I'm like Googling, going, "Motherfucker, I did do that album." Like I had no clue. And it was an Audio Slave album. I mean, it was an Audio Slave album that I did that I completely forgot about, and until he mentioned it. So no, I don't keep track of, things from sets or from things. I'm not that kind of person. Though I did have a lot of wacky, morbid props forever after Manson, and finally purged it years ago. Thank God. I used to have an embalming table for my dining room table until my sister came to visit with her kids and said, "There is no way in hell my kids are eating at that table." I was like,
I'll get a tablecloth, it'll be fine.
Right. So, gotcha.
That's incredible.
I love the fact you forgot working with Audio Slave. That's amazing.
I didn't forget the videos, but I totally forgot about the one album I did because I only did the cover and it was like a quick favor for somebody. I had completely forgotten about it. So 100% forgotten about it. Whoops.
To be fair, though, when I was looking at what albums you've worked on for art, I was on Discogs. I just go for it. I must have been scrolling for about half an hour. I was like, this keeps going.
I don't think
it never stops.
Of them listed. Like honestly, like I stopped counting after it was like 450. I stopped counting. Like I have no clue how many it's been since then, because I just kind of gave up. So trying to remember every single one is a bit of a trick.
Damn. Did you never want to get into like TV or movies at all?
Yeah, I've been actually attached to several films. That's how crazy the movie world is. Someday I would love to do a feature, but have been very close on several, but they just haven't happened yet. But would love to.
That'd be incredible.
Yes.
Absolutely. They're missing out, Paul. It's their loss.
Oh, thank you. Actually, Corey Taylor and I came up with a hell of an idea that we tried to get turned into a series that was really close, and we actually almost got it there, and that would have been a hell of a lot of fun. So might have to bring that back to life someday.
Can we talk about that, or do you want to leave that in there?
Don't
want to leave that hidden for a bit?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I can do it ambiguous enough to not give away kind of what it was about. But it was a twisted kind of religiously driven sci-fi that was very dark. And it was basically ultimately the story of Jesus and Satan in modern time, but in a very unique way. And where their roles were reversed. It was very cool.
What is it with you and finding musicians that want to do films about Jesus? And
Yeah, musicians have a lot to say. That's kind of why that's why I've loved the music world for so long. It's like they have some dark souls and they have some things they want to say, and I am more than happy to help them kind of visualize what those dark things are.
I really hope that gets off the ground. I really do. I'd love to watch that.
That'd be a lot of fun.
That's so good fun.
So
this might be like asking you to pick a favorite child, but if someone was to ask you like one or two things that you've done in your career that you're so incredibly proud of, that you should like, look at what I did, what would they be?
Honestly, and the funny part is, I'll tell you a second part of this story afterwards that makes it even funnier. But it's probably when Antichrist Superstar was held up on the Senate floor in the United States by Tipper Gore and who was the other guy? Hardcore Republican. Basically, both of them held it up on the Senate floor and said, "This is what's wrong with America, and this is what's wrong with the youth." Calling out Manson for all of his, everything that he was doing from Antichrist. And it was the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And I think that is the only memorabilia I have kept, is that front page of the Wall Street Journal of saying that this is what's wrong with the youth of today. That was great. So now the second part of that story is my daughter is just turned 10 yesterday. And she is 100% media free, meaning she's never watched a TV show, never seen a movie, like never been on an iPad, like she's oblivious to all of it. She lives in this kind of beautiful, amazing world full of creativity without any of that. And there was a book, The History of Graphic Design, and Antichrist was in there, and she was flipping through, and she's like, Dad, this is you. Like, this is your name in here. I was like, yep. And she's like, what is this? So I had to have a lengthy conversation with my daughter about what that was and what it was all about. And it was hilarious. When she's older and actually watch things, she'll be like, I had no clue what you did. Like, you told me you were a director. I didn't know what that meant.
I didn't know you were wrong with the youth of America, Dad.
Exactly. When she's an adult, she'll be like, you now make so much more sense to me.
Oh, that is incredible. Tom, before we start wrapping up, have you got any more questions?
Yeah, I mean, did you ever think, Paul, that when you started out your business when you were 12 years old, that this is where you'd be today?
Absolutely not. Like, I had no real, I thought I would be doing corporate graphic design for the rest of my life, doing annual reports, and, it changed and evolved and went all over the place completely in a path that I never saw, but grateful for it. I love it.
I'll bet what a job to have. It's quite unique. So just wonderful.
Well, thank you.
It's amazing. Have you got anything that you're working on at the moment or soon to be released that you're allowed to talk about that we can all keep an eye out for?
Well, I don't even know if I can say it. I mean, there's always commercials that I'm doing, but those aren't that exciting to say, hey, go buy some sugar water. No, the band that I'm going to Zurich for is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. So shooting 4 videos back to back that are all narrative driven, very dark. I haven't done anything dark in years, and this is about as dark as it comes. So it will be a hell of a lot of fun to go create. So look for that soon. I'm not sure if I can mention who it is, so I won't yet. But
fair enough.
Excited for that.
Paul, this has been so much fun. But before we let you go, we like to play a little game with our guests if you're willing to play.
Absolutely. I have to get naked, though. I'm turning off my monitor.
Oh, fucking I'm out. No. We call it the quick fire round. We literally ask you 5 questions and you answer them as quick as possible.
Okay.
So, first one. Your first ever celebrity crush?
Oh, God. First ever celebrity crush. Probably Marianne from Gilligan's Island. Come on. I'm sure I jerked off to her when I was 12 or 14. I would bet.
Show her my Dairy Queen. Anyway, what would be your go-to karaoke song?
Well, I've only done karaoke once in my life, and it was "When Doves Cry" by Prince. So let's go with that. And it was terrible. Thank
great
God
song to
video
choose.
cameras didn't exist back then, because I would not live that down.
What is your favorite pizza topping?
Oh, green pepper.
Really? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Who would play you in the movie of your life, in Hanson to Manson the movie?
I'm not going to remember his name, but I will have to get your help for what his name is. You guys know the actor that was on Game of Thrones that was basically courting Cersei, and he was from the Iron. I forget what his name is, but he's some heavy set looking guy with a beard, real asshole on the show.
I think I know what you mean, but I can't think of his name.
I can't. Someone called me out on that and said, "You look exactly like him," and I was like, "Oh, I do. Let's get that guy to play me in a movie."
I was getting Depp vibes, to be honest. I was getting Johnny Depp vibes.
Oh, please! I met Johnny Depp. He was awesome.
Oh, really?
When we were doing Hollywood, he was hanging out at the mansion. He was an awesome guy. He was super cool.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I think it would be a bit of a letdown for him to go do my life story. But sure, if you want to go with Johnny Depp, knock
Yeah, it was
yourself
good.
And last but not least, if you could go in a time machine and go back to young Master Paul Brown, what is one piece of advice you would give him?
I would go back and say, invest heavily. So when you were 40 or 50 years old, you can just do fine art photography for the rest of your life. That is what I would tell him.
You'll get there one day, though. There'll be your time will come, Paul. Don't you worry.
Well,
it's definitely coming. You can just relax, chill, not have to talk to anybody, and just paint to your heart's content.
There you go.
Paul, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun.
It's greatly appreciated. Like I said, for taking the time out to speak to us as well. We thank you so much, Paul. I thoroughly enjoyed every single second of this.
Absolutely, and vice versa. All right, guys, have a good.
Hi, I'm Frank Guglielmelli, and I'm the narrator for some wonderful audio dramas from Syscast, like Marty and Mars, Bounty Hunters, and a great part in Val Toby, with much more to come. You can find these programs on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, or head over to our website, www.syscast.com. We are excited to announce that we are now affiliated with the Chronicles of Podcast with Tom and Jamie.